Hey everybody, today we're going to use relational AI to take on governance and auditing. We're going to weave together metadata and business knowledge or business expertise from our SMEs and domain experts. We're going to apply some business rules and build out relationships that's eventually going to lead to automated reasoning across our infrastructure. So today's challenge is going to end like this, but at first we need to define our data model and define how all these things interact with each other. Um, the problem that we really need to solve today is ensuring that any trades that take place have a valid SEC ID, so securities ID, and then that securities ID is linked to the ID over here. So we're going to take a look at our sample data. We're going to use that to define a basic model. This is going to be pseudocode today, but we're going to define a basic model that basically says, hey, these are our nodes, and these are the edges or the relationships that link them all together. So we've got trades, we've got all of the columns inside of the trade table. We've got these two data silos that just don't talk to each other physically, but we know they need to be linked. So to start linking these things, we're going to start building in traceability. And the first thing that I want to do before I link the silos together with business rules is make sure that these columns know each other exist. And once we do that, we're going to be able to query columns based on relationships that we're drawing out through traceability. So we're going to create a rule. We're going to apply the rule as traces to, and we're just going to reference all of these like columns together so that anytime I'm writing something, I'll be able to query over very simply based on the traces to relationship. The next layer of this is adding in some business knowledge, so that assertive knowledge from my domain experts that came to me and said, hey, we have to make sure that security ID is not null to ensure that this is a valid trade. We're going to capture that as a new type of relationship called flow. Flow is just to represent that it's asserted business knowledge. And what we want to do afterwards is converge these things together. So once again, another rule. These are all additive. So we went rule one, now we're on rule two, just adding things together. And once we do that, we get this new relationship. Now there's one more piece. So I've got this business rule linking these things together. But if I were writing a query or a program, I wouldn't want to have to go through the security ID business rule anytime I wanted to pull securities information together with trades. So to tie this together, I create one more rule, and I relate our business rule via the blue line, and I basically say, hey, if we've got relationships like this, then I also want to create cross-system relationships in green. And of course, I have those inner table references, those inner column references. Now, the next phase of this is mixing in business knowledge using policy labels. And this is going to simplify things even further. So I want to take a business policy or a concept like trade. And again, I know that if we have a trade in our system, it also must point to an exchange. That's what this whole technical exercise has been about. But now I want to distill it down into business policies. I could extend these with attribution and definitions to once again make that knowledge queryable and usable in any programs based out of relational AI. But what we're going to do today is use all of that to imply logic and create validation rules that constantly monitor traceability violators. So any trade that does not have an exchange is going to throw an error saying that it is violating our rules. Now, I know that this is all about trade and securities, but you can imagine how using data instead of metadata and combining knowledge that may not be governance, maybe it's third-party knowledge or something that we've embedded as data scientists or analysts, could all be combined inside of relational AI to do wonderful things. Thank you and have a good day.